land. Okay, that's recording.
I guess don't worry about getting in the shot, because it's quite nice that it's not like too hidden the fact that I'm being filmed. Do you know what I mean?
Only when.
Yeah.
Conversation. No. Subject. Temporal description. Sent the 15th of November 2015. Colleague. My grandfather, Douglas Murray, bought Templewood in 1937 after selling his farm, situated in the outskirts of Dundee. He had inherited it from his father and was part of the Cambernack estate. Templewood is situated about 2 miles north of Brecon, between Dundee and Aberdeen as the main road. It is a traditional Scottish farm consisting of one large house, stable, cottage, and the steading. The steading is a Scottish name for the farm building. The farmland is 300 acres in total size, 260 acres mixed arable farmland, and 40 acres of mixed forestry. The main house has 5 bedrooms upstairs and 5 rooms downstairs. There is a large hall. Upstairs, there are 2 large bedrooms at the front of the house and 3 smaller bedrooms at the back of the house with 3 bathrooms. The upstairs bedrooms have magnificent views over the farmland to the southeast. Similarly, downstairs there are 2 large reception rooms and 4 smaller rooms with scullery. There is also a garage. The back of the house is the original house and built probably in the 1600s. The front of the house was added in about 1850. The most holy room in the house is the nursery, which faces south and can get quite hot when the sun shines. My grandparents used to have a doll's house and a grand piano in the nursery. The kitchen at the back is rather dark, and there was a study at the back. My grandparents had a cook called Mrs. Bruce, who died in about 1980. The study at the back was called Mrs. Bruce's sitting room. When television first arrived, Aunt Mary used to watch TV with Mrs. Bruce. The house is a good feeling, and happy memories of my parents and grandparents. Peter and Dossie Stewart used to live in Parsons Stables. Dossie had worked with my grandparents since 1976, and I think Peter joined about 1940. The other half of the stables was used as a garage and store. Above the stables was a loft, which stored many items like Aladdin's cave. The cottage next to the steading is rather cold and damp, and had good views over the farmland. The steading is a traditional set of Scottish farm buildings with a cottage. Part of the steading was converted into a little house for my grandmother. I can remember when the steading was full of cows and 12 men worked on the farm. However, in 1965, my grandmother did a calculation and worked out that a pint of cream from the farm was 3 times what it costs in the shops. There was a major change, and many of the old farm workers were pensioned off. This left a staff of 2, Peter Stewart and John Monaghan. John died about 1990, and the Stewarts left Templewood in 2003 to retire to Brecon, but outlived my mother. My grandfather always used to say that the land was very good. Farming was a mixture of barley, peas, potatoes, wheat and beef. There were about 20 fields and crops were rotated. The pasture was let out every spring for beef, and this was called the grass parklet. The grass parklets were always followed by a huge booze up. In the winter, the farm was brought down and the sheep onto the farm, and the cows were kept inside. The name, Templewood, signified the connection with the Knights Templar, and the field by the road was called the Templar Field. All the fields are named. The farm had very good rough shooting, and there was plenty of wildlife. Hares, rabbits, pigeons, pheasants, partridge and buzzards. There were foxes in the woods. There were lines of beech trees leading up to the house, which had been planted by French prisoners of war 200 years ago after the Napoleonic War. There was a large wood of conifers which was blown flat in the gale of 1953 and replanted. In the field next to the A90, which is the main road between Dundee and Aberdeen, there is the main oil pipeline from the North Sea, which was installed in the 1970s after oil was found in the North Sea. Also, there was the quarry which provided the stone for all the buildings in the 1850s. Love, that. Subject, read, Templewood. Sent, 26th November 2015. Body, lots of parties, lots of people staying. Mrs. Bruce to cook and Dossie to housekeep. Gingerbread and pancakes for tea, lentil soup and green Denby chai lunch, wine, poi fum and sanka to drink for dinner. The smell of toast and brown sugar still brings back the smell of going down the back stairs for breakfast. Meals all laid in the dining room, with a tablecloth for breakfast, tea, stamps on the ceiling. My bedroom is called the jug room, where I always stay, looking out over the park and the garden. Always walks down the farm road. In fact, I never went to walk anywhere else. Views back to the hills from Free Bridge, drainage channels being cleared down beside the road. Red soil. Peter and Marnik were always around. Always went up to see Dossie and Peter and Mrs. Bruce as soon as we arrived. Gardening. Summer house round the back of the rhododendrons. Swinging the bit of the garden he never went to. Croquet. And then Mum and Dad, Jim and Nan, moved there. It was never quite the same. Much quieter. Sitting in the back kitchen with no sun. No Dossie and Mrs. Bruce. Large house, but only a bit of it used. Main front door used only rarely. Front gate shut and only back corridor used. Collapsing farm buildings latterly and everything made easy maintenance. Mum's ashes scattered in the orchard and life comes on. Take care. Lots of love. Harriet. Read, Templewood. Sent 4th December 2015. Dear Holly, thank you for giving me this opportunity to tell you about my grandparents' farm in Angus, where I spent the first 10 years of my life. Everything after that was seen through the eyes of an East Coast Scot, so I guess I have to call it home. Here are some clues about the relationship between people and place within English words and brackets where necessary. I was there because my father died working in the snow on a mountain near Fort William on the west coast before I was born. Mother had to leave their farmhouse because it was tied to, dependent on, his employment. And she moved back to be with her parents and to have a baby. From this tragedy, I came to know Templewood well, living with very busy grandparents. Well kenned they were in the community, or well known, as they would say. We often couldn't afford it, so there were 4 younger brothers and sisters and 3 half-sisters. So she took a teaching course inspired by Italian ideas and worked voluntarily for the rest of her long life to forward the case for women in work. After she married, she wasn't allowed to do paid work. So she was involved in encouraging women on farms throughout Scotland to explore new ideas and possibilities. Nowadays, it would be called developing their potential. This was through the Women's Rural Institute, which was familiar and suffered no nonsense, but had a sense of humour. As a child, she always said to her father, my great-grandfather, was only happy when he was moving house. She had a strong intellect and won a place at Oxford in the 20s. She was unable to go to Oxford, as my great-grandfather said girls did not go to Oxford. I think this was an excuse, as they had run out of money. SM had 7 siblings and her father was married twice. I'm not sure I've met all my great aunts, but over the years I have received all of their cameras. SBM was lucky to get married. After the First World War, there was a shortage of young men.
They're just really quiet.
The Steading is a Scottish name for the farm buildings. The farmland is 300 acres in total size, 260 acres mixed arable farmland, and 40 acres mixed forestry. The main house has 5 bedrooms upstairs and 5 rooms downstairs. There is a large hall. Upstairs, there are 2 large bedrooms at the front of the house and 3 smaller bedrooms at the back of the house with 3 bathrooms. The upstairs bedrooms have magnificent views over the farmland to the southeast. Similarly, downstairs there are 2 large reception rooms and 4 smaller rooms with a scullery. There is also a garage. The back of the was rather formidable and suffered no nonsense but had a sense of humour. As a child, she always said her father, my great-grandfather, was only happy when he was really young. She had strong intellect and won a place at Oxford in the 20s. She was unable to go to Oxford, as my great-grandfather said girls did not go to Oxford. I think this was an excuse, as they had run out of money. SM had 7 siblings and her father was married twice. I'm not sure I've met all of them. All of their cameras. SBM was lucky to get married, as several of her sisters did not. After the First World War, there was a shortage of young men. SBM was highly